Hey guys, I don't have a lot going on, and of course there's nobody on just yet, so because this will be recorded, we'll just start talking about things, right? Kind of like what we do normally. I don't have anything in particular to talk about, but I am waiting on an autoclave, so I figured I could use some company while I'm waiting today. But, hey, we got a couple people in here after all. Man, it's amazing how fast that happens. What's up, Jesse? Guess you saw the heads up in the Discord? What's up, big one? Right now, I'm just switching liquid cultures over, but I'm waiting on my autoclave to finish cooking. What's up, Andrew from Australia? Hello from Andrew in East Tennessee. Jesse. Man, you live on that Discord channel nowadays. What's up, Bearded Bullets? Hey, man, it's been forever since I've seen you. Feels like. What's up, Randall? Big Papa, huh? You know. All day, every day. As Jesse says. Just give me a second and I'll sit down. I just wanted to get these cultures switched over on the stir plates. Cool. We got here in the noise. Let the autoclave do its thing. Oh, yeah. Thanks, 3D. Rother, what's going on, buddy? See, you're saying... Got a question. When using straw pellets, what else would I mix in the substrate? Would it be soy hull or hardwood fuel pellets? And at what ratio? Well, that's an easy question, man. The idea is that you want to have a carbon source and you want to have a supplement source. And both straw and hardwood fuel pellets are considered carbon sources. And since those are carbon sources, you'll want to find a supplement. So you can use things like alfalfa and straw. You can use not fuel pellets, the soybean hull pellets. You can use wheat bran. And you can use all kinds of stuff. But just beet pulp pellets, that kind of stuff works out well. And the ratio is going to depend on what you're doing and what you want. I would not suggest growing hericiums on straw. They don't seem to do well. Some certain strains do better than others, but just overall they tend to perform a little poorly. Hold on one second. And let's see. Right now, so our goat mix, when we do the straw and the hardwood fuel pellet, oh my goodness, man, you got me like where I can't stop saying it now. We do 50-50 straw pellets to soybean hull pellets by volume. Straw tends to be a little bit more dense. So our typical, let's say that we use the same bagger for the master's mix as we do the goat mix. But when we do the master's mix, our bags are only 12.25 pounds. And when we are doing the goat mix, they are closer to 14 14 to 14.5 pounds. We're actually about to make a pipe so that we can change out on our bagger really quickly. That pipe will allow us to increase the water in our goat mix bags. And so my plan is to have two different baggers actually, since they're so easy for us to produce nowadays because we're producing tons of them. I'm just going to have two of our smaller footprint baggers. We're going to sell Prometheus, which was the prototype bagger that we built. It's got a gigantic footprint. I don't need it anymore. It's just too big for where I can put two baggers in its place, right? So one bagger is going to be set up to do the goat mix, and those bags will be closer to 20 pounds, and that'll be our oyster bagger. And then we'll have our specialty bagger, which will do our master's mix for all of our specialty mushrooms, except for shiitake. And I still have not found wheat bran pellets. So we're still hand scooping wheat bran, which I want to get away from very badly. But I'm thinking about making, basically having in our specialty bagger, we can run sawdust in both, and then do a larger amount of wheat bran. So we'll hand scoop a ton of wheat bran, and then do a double dose. So it'd be like 5 pounds of, be about 5 pounds of hardwood fuel pellets, about 40% total volume we want to be wheat bran. So, oh my goodness, I'm not gonna be able to do that in my head right now. And then, I mean, so basically we're talking like, I want to do shiitake blocks, but I want to do gigantic freaking shiitake blocks. So we'll see how that works. Let's see. So I hope that answers your question, Robert. What's up? Save your bee. Julie, how you doing, darling? Justin, hey, Justin, I got your email, man. I hope you got my response. I don't think I responded to the longer part that you wrote me. I did not. I did get it, man. I really appreciate the kind words. So means a lot to me. And yeah, man, you're very welcome. Anytime anyone ever, the reason I know that I'm a higher priced LC provider than a lot of people, and one of the reasons why is so that when you come to me with a problem, I'll just send another one out. I charge enough that I shouldn't question you. I should just send you another one out. So that's the way I work on it, man. But you're very welcome. I'm glad everything else is working out well for you. So what's up, Moin from Germany? Well, what's up, Germany? Oh, man, it is, well, I don't know what time of day it is there. So Guten Tag. I don't really know where you're at. So we'll just go with the basic. Got my first lion's mane growing. Congratulations, Randall. That's a hell of a thing, isn't it? That's awesome, man. Any experience cultivating maitake in bags? Could you talk about it if so? Yes, I've grown maitake for the first time this past year. 2020 was very good to me in that way. I grew maitake on Master's Mix, my 12-pound fruiting blocks. I found the longer you age them, the better. They stopped fruiting through the summer, but we just held on to the blocks. They turned all nasty and yellow and orange and weird colors, and then fruited like crazy in the fall. So that was really cool. I will say that we grew them in the grow room, and we got beautiful maitake. I mean, they look like wild maitake. The best way to do it is to just let them incubate until they form gray blobs on the top of the surface. And then you've got the rest of the bag, and you've got your seal up here. Take your scissors and just cut barely right there after the gray blobs have gotten really big. Place it in your grow room, cut that seal, or just below the seal, and then every week or so come in and cut another inch or two off. The mushrooms will continue growing, and you're cutting the bag down, and it made for really beautiful maitake. That said, I found the easiest way to do them was just to roll our maitake bags into where they got good light from the grow room and like in our airlock, and then just let them sit there and then let them fruit until they hit the top of that bag. And then we just sold them, and we called them antler velvet mushrooms. And those were better tasting, in my opinion, better texture, and the chefs went crazy over them. So Savior B says, might you ever get Pestalodes microspora? Is that the plastic eating? I don't know. You'll have to give me a sec. Oh my gosh, chat. I can't copy and paste while the chat's moving. Let me just double check that's is that the endophytic fungus capable of breaking down digestive polyurethane? Okay, yeah, that's the plastic eater. I used to have a culture of it. I don't know where it is now. This should be like, there's a lot of people who have. I think Aloha Medicinals actually has one. So maybe check it out. Hey Seth, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Guys, Seth Fisher in the chat. Just so you know, we have Mushroom Media online with us now. So if you guys ever need anything, I get my straw pellets from him for the goat mix. I know he sells a Master's Mix combo pellet. I get my unicorn bags from him mostly. So yeah, check him out. If you guys need anything, use code Mossy. I think you've got code Mossy on there, right, Seth? I think so. Yeah, Rother, you're welcome. You said when using beet pulp, would I be using 30% looking for it? So I don't know about beet pulp. I don't know if anybody has that. If you've got Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms by Paul Stamets, he's got a chart, like just charts and charts and charts in the back of, or sheets, of just different substrates and their nutritional value. Just look at what it is in comparison to like the Master's Mix, and then try to use it in a similar fashion. I don't know off the top of my head. The exception to the rule says my first live. So, hey, awesome, man. Welcome. And you're welcome, Justin. Abel says, thank you for the love and always here for it. Oh, yeah, man. You're very welcome. Blessings from Trinidad. Well, thank you. Thank you. Same to you from East Tennessee and to the Philippines. I'm glad, man, we're getting super international. We get a different long rifle in the corner every live stream. Actually, you don't. It's the same one. That is the same shotgun that sits in that corner all the time as my grandfather's shotgun. So it stays in a special place because I want him close to me. And he's the one that taught me how to shoot and take care of guns and gun safety and all of that stuff. Amazing. How long was the total incubation time? Assuming you're talking about the maitake, 4 or 5 months. I think some of them there at the end were close to 6 months. So it's definitely one that I think you're going to need a lot of, like a big incubation space to make it worth it. But it was great because I was selling, upsold the cases at $150 a case. It's about $15 a pound. And man, it just sold like gangbusters. So, it was great because what we ended up doing was when COVID hit, I didn't know what was going to happen. So I just packed a ton of chestnuts, a ton of black poplars. Like we stopped planting oysters entirely when COVID hit and just planted mostly long growing strains. So maitake was a big one. And man, we lived off the fat of the land, on those blocks for a long time. Because right when the restaurants kicked back up and started going like crazy, we had all these long incubating species like shiitake and everything else just like pouring in for us. So let's see. What the syringe filters, what size? Hold on one second. Yeah, baby.
I accidentally broke the pickle jar and I cleaned it up.
Okay.
I feel bad.
Well, accidents happen. I'm not happy about it, but accidents happen. Thank you for cleaning it up. With the syringe filters, what size do you use? There seems to be 2 sizes on Shroom Supply. I use the bigger one. 0.22. Yeah, no. Oh, man, what is it? 90 millimeter, I think is what it is. No, it can't be 90 millimeter. That's incorrect. I don't know what I'm talking about. I use the bigger of the 2. And hello from Guatemala, Central America. I posted all my operation on the Facebook group. Check it out. I'll absolutely check it out. Thank you, man. And hello back to you from East Tennessee. That's crazy. Save your bee. Oh, yes, it is the plastic eating. Gotcha. Do you ever grow cordyceps? I have handed the cordyceps growers handbook out to each one of my employees. We are working on it. We are going to be working with some of Ryan Paul Gates strains as far as cordyceps go to try that out. So, growing lion's mane. Is it better to top fruit or side fruit your blocks? I think it's better to side fruit your blocks. And Bod says, Guten Tag is fine, although it's midnight here. You can also always say, oh my God, that is so gross, Ben. Ben just beard dipped on you guys. You can always say moin. It's like, yeah, I'm live streaming. Okay, so I didn't know moin was like hi. Is moin the proper pronunciation? Do what? Oh, okay. Are turkey tail mushrooms easy to grow? Yeah, they're actually really ridiculously easy to grow. Dustin says turkey tail grows wild here in Florida, damn near everywhere. Yeah, man, you guys also get some really colorful ones down there, which make it, fun and beautiful. What make button mushrooms have firm and dense body? And thanks a lot for your info. I don't know. As far as it's just I assume it's the chitin content in the structure. What? What are you giving me a stink face for? You can come here.
My hand hurts.
I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Do what?
I'm hungry.
Your hand hurts. You're hungry. You want to go home? I told you we can go home when your mom gets back. Well,
just go home right now.
No, we can't go home right now. I got an autoclave running.
No,
no, you cannot just go home. I'm on a live stream.
It's an easy walk.
No, you're not walking home. Oh my gosh, boy. Brody, don't you walk home. Don't you walk home. Don't ride home or hitchhike home either. You stay here.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about yelling on you guys. Seriously, guys, I'm on a live stream. Paul say let's have a great documentary out on Amazon. Are you talking about Fantastic Fungi? Because that's not actually Paul Stamets. He is the star of the show, we'll say, but Louis Schwartzberg is the one who did it. So I think Paul helped a little bit, though. They ended up like really screwing over a lot of investors and stuff like that. And not Paul. I don't mean it like that. Like it became a big debacle, like a big dramatic debacle, the release of it. And I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. I've been wanting to watch it. Actually, I gave them money during their Kickstarter. I actually have a digital copy. I've had it for months. I've not even watched it. So, Dustin says, but hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Glad to be here. Yeah, man. Glad to have you. What's up, Rocket City? Hello from Finland. Well, hello from East Tennessee, man. Finland. That's awesome. You know, I've always had a like special place in my heart for Finland. And I got to say, it has nothing to do with any of knowledge I have of the country, other than the fact that I read about Finland's fight in World War II against both the Soviets and the Nazis. So, and I thought, man, that's a teeny tiny little out of the way country that like bloodied both noses. So I've just always kind of had a little, that's neat. What's up, Matthew? You're welcome, JP. You said, Miser, what's up, man? Hey, I didn't realize that was a shotgun back there. What gauge is it? It's a 12, that's my 20 gauge. That's my 20 gauge shotgun. My grandfather was not real big on like heavy duty stuff. I've got a few 12 gauges, but that's 20 gauge. The other ones are that's my kids' BB guns. There's a little field out back, and they go hunting and stuff sometimes. Accidents do happen. Happy little accidents like my 3 children. Yeah, man. I feel you, Snake. Chip says, Cetus Mushrooms stopping by to say hi. Howdy. Oh, Chip, I didn't realize that you were Cetus. Okay. Yeah, I see you on Instagram every now and then. You give us some good shots. Let's see, Matthew says, hi from Brisbane, Australia. Well, good day. Are we going out to get that Aqua Cola yet? That's what it feels like in the world right now. Thanks, Nugs. I appreciate that. How good is popcorn as a grain for spawn? I know it does have as much inoculation points, but could you spawn it? So I use oats, and oats don't have much inoculation points in comparison to like something like millet or something like that. Corn is usually not used because of the sugar content. It's a really high sugar content, but I see people use it. They use it plenty. How are your softwood tests going? Man, they're going awesome. That's actually why I switched. That's actually why we started the goat mix in the first place. The softwood mix proved really, really well for oysters, and we ended up doing our yield bump was good. Straw is going better for oysters. So I'm actually getting we're on our second pallet of soy, I think. And the first pallet is just now starting to produce, and we're seeing it like crazy. The pine pellet test did fantastic for bear's head. Our bear's head yields went from something like 3.5 pounds first flush to 4.5 to 5 pounds first flush just by switching over to pine pellets instead of the hardwood fuel pellets. So it was a big bump for that, but we didn't do it much on anything else. Let's see. Do you deliver LC in the Philippines? Thanks. Lowell, I'm sorry, I don't. I don't do international shipping other than to Mexico and Canada right now. I would like to. I just don't know anything about it, and I've not had time to really dig into it. So if you had a choice to grow on a farm in shipping containers or a basement in a commercial building, which would you choose and why? So, I mean, assuming that I have the same cubic footage and square footage and, assuming that everything else is the same, I would rather be in a basement. And why? Because the earth would buffer my temperatures. And the most energy usage your energy usage is largely just temperature control. So, I mean, I would say that we end up using far more on temperature control than we ever do in sterilizing our substrate, and we use electric sterilizers. So, and hello from Jordan, huh? Like, out there in the Middle East, Jordan? That's crazy. I don't think I've ever met anyone from Jordan. Hello. Nice to meet you. I just want to say I appreciate your videos. I'm learning a lot. Thank you. You're very welcome, Tom. Thank you very much for saying that. Yeah, Matthew Straw, for sure. I'm doing pine pellets on pellets. Phoenix goes well on pine. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that Phoenix does well. If Phoenix does well, then things like the Indian oyster and our Venetian, any Italian, any of those should do really well on pine. So I should try the Venetian out on pine. The Venetian is, so for those of you guys who don't know, Lambert's has a 123, a 124, and I think it's called a 126. They have a brown oyster, a gold oyster, and a blue oyster. Their blue oyster is the sole parent of my blue oyster. Their Italian oyster, the brown, is the sole parent of my Venetian. Those are both genetic isolates from those. And their gold is probably the best gold on the market, which is why I used it for the parentage of mine. And it's crazy. So anyone who can get Lambert spawn that doesn't want to be making their own spawn, I highly suggest Lambert's over pretty much any of the other spawn companies except maybe Main Cap and Stem. And Main Cap and Stem sells some of my stuff, which is why I highly suggest them. Plus, they're a more modern company with more modern customer service, like taking credit cards much more easily. Though I think Lambert's will take a credit card over the phone now. I'm going to post some of this liquid culture I made as a photo on Discord, but it's vicious. I start every day, and I get an island that looks like a petri dish on the top by the time I get to restart. Yeah, man, that happens a lot with your most aggressive strains. That'll be for sure the way that things go. I fight that all the time. That's why I use the 1-inch stir bars. I used to buy the 2-inch, and man, they throw so much easier, and the 1-inch I find actually rips stuff up a lot easier. So. Fred says, I'm experimenting with growing oyster mushrooms in jars used tea leaves. My wife is Russian, by the way, even though Finland fought them in World War II. We're some 80, is it 80 years from World War II now? So I think we can all let bygones be bygones at this point. I mean, you got to. Let's see. Oh, yeah, sorry. Did you ask me a question? No, just that you're using them tea leaves. Hey, man, I think that's great. Let me know how it goes. I'd be interested to know how tea performs. Seta says, wow, pine pellets outproduce for lions. What do you think about using Eastern U.S. white pine versus hardwood pellets? I mean, I think that it would work great so long as it's pelletized, because that's the only experience I have. A lot of people don't grow on pine because I've heard that pine can leave a residue flavor in the mushroom. But we didn't notice that. We didn't even notice a pine smell when using the pine pellets. And my guess is the extrusion process of making the pellets squeezes out most of that resin. Plus, I think oftentimes they'll use that resin as a different product for another industry. So they're probably trying to collect it. And it's probably pretty clean as a pellet, but I don't know about anything else. I know that Hericiums did well. But beyond that, my oyster trials didn't. I mean, we had a big bump. Mother of Pearl had a big bump in production levels with the pine, but we didn't do very, very much, and we didn't keep. That wasn't really a trial. That was a finishing out our hoppers, and so, I don't really have good numbers on that. Yes, Jordan in the Middle East, been following your videos. Love your stuff. Starting out our setup soon. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. It's hard to get Italian oysters here in Australia. Oh, yeah, I think you guys have a ban on them or something like that. So I didn't realize that. Travis says, hello. Can I get away without holes in the lids of my 4-ounce mason jar plates? I don't have an answer for you, Travis. I've never done that. Maybe if anybody else has had experience with that, they can throw that in the chat and just let Travis know if anybody else has used jars and if they seal them instead of. It's actually a neat idea using like little teeny tiny those little squarish jars as a petri dish that will self seal. Like, it's not a terrible idea at all. My chat seems to be frozen. Okay, there. Hold on. Might have to kick it out into a different window. Daniel says, wheat straw or soybean straw pellets for oyster mushroom substrate. Hello from Serbia. So those would both be used in substrate. The wheat straw would be your carbon source, and your soybean straw pellets. You don't mean hulls? You mean like, I mean, it wouldn't really be straw. So you mean like the soybean vegetative matter turned into pellets? Sorry, Daniel. Maybe you can let me know. We may be just having a language issue. I don't know. Hey, what's up, DEM? Happy Friday. When I pressure cook my pine blocks, I get a strong pine smell. Interesting. Is that even what that's made out of pellets then? I can't find soy hull pellets in Southeast Michigan. I can purchase a small 20-pound bag for $25 online, but I'd prefer to find a local source where I can buy a 50-pound bag at any time. Any suggestions? Well, beyond local, you might talk to Seth Fisher. He's on here right now, or he was a moment ago. MushroomMediaOnline.com. He sells combo pellets. If he can't get you worked out, I think Main Cap and Stem sells combo pellets. Seth sells the straw. I don't know if he sells any other supplements, but he might be able to. I know he ships all over. So I don't know what else he ships. I think he does hardwood. I think he does hardwood fuel pellets. But if you're looking for something that you can use, what we tell most people out west and north that they have a hard time getting soybean hulls because that is kind of a southern thing. Alfalfa works as a supplement pretty well. I don't remember. I think people are using about a 20%. There's somebody in here that keeps coming back and telling me that they what they're actually using, and I'm always wrong. But I know people have used 16 to 20%. So it'll work, but it could run out of air. You're talking about the jars. Gotcha. I use equine bedding pellets, which are pine. Okay, yeah, I think it's what we used to. I didn't have any pine smell whatsoever with mine. I will say that Seth Fisher sent me some hemp pellets to play with, and I tried them, and oh my gosh, I don't want it because let's just say East Tennessee is very, 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 very strict on anything green, right? And those hemp pellets put out a poignant smell while they're being cooked. We put 10 test blocks with hemp pellets in our steamer outside in a 120 block load. So only 10 of those were hemp. And I came in the next morning and it was like, man, someone lit up a big blunt out there in the parking lot. And my neighbors were all looking around like crazy, like, what are you doing? And I was just waiting for the police to show up. So it's pretty stinky.
Stephanie just came by and put a rose on Ben's car.
Oh yeah? Did she not stay?
No. She said she gets roses from work, and then she always gives one to Miles and one to Ben.
Oh, that's sweet. Bearded Bullet says it should be fine and have enough gas inside to colonize. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Daniel, you're saying no straw. Yeah, I've never heard of soy straw. I don't know what soy straw is. Sorry, bud. Seta says thanks because we have a line on local organic white pine, and yes, it's what's left after extraction. We're on track to get our USDA organic cert in 4 to 5 months. So I think the pine will work really well for your Hericiums and maybe a couple of oyster strains. I would do some tests first with the oysters for sure. No one else said that they could taste it, but I felt like I could taste pine in the oysters. But I didn't taste it in the Hericiums. So just give it a go. Maybe just make sure you do it. So just wondered if there would be enough O2. Yeah, Travis, I don't know, man. It seems like other people think that it might work. I mean, what I would do is just try it. Now, I will say that plates have a gap, and you typically wrap it with parafilm, which is, it has gas exchange capability. So, yeah, I don't know. New growers here. I just spawned grain to wood substrate. I'm seeing yellow liquid pee again, similar to when it was in bag. Is it normal or contam? Well, Ryan, without seeing it, I can't tell you. But I will say that depending on how much, like a little bit is, yeah, that's normal. But certain strains will metabolite more than others, and certain strains will metabolite a lot on certain substrates. So it's it's really one of those things where I don't know. I don't have any information other than that you have yellow liquid in your bag. So Aviator says Mushroom Media is good people. Yeah, Seth's good people. Seth's good people for sure. Dalva says hi from South Brazil. Well, hello. I'm afraid to use or to even attempt that word. Camboria, South Carolina, SC. That can't be South Carolina if you're in Brazil. So things I can easily get alfalfa. Absolutely, yeah. That works well. Wheat bran also works, and you can do up to like a 40% supplementation rate with wheat bran. Though I will say, I get more mutants that way. MK says I get wheat bran powder and hardwood pellets. Tractor Supply for the bran. There you go, guys. Most people have Tractor Supplies, right? Josiah, what's up, bud? The hemp pellets are quite strong smelling. Yeah, Josiah was here when we were doing the test, and it was it was rough. You should put together a softwood LC package. Okay, James, I can do that for sure. Oh, send them hemp pellets over here. I wish I could, man. I'm sure, like we've put mushrooms to them. They don't break up either, though. It's like black tar in the bag. And it's hard to mix. I'm not really loving the hemp. Fred says Russians eat a lot of pickled goods and drink a lot of tea, so I'm trying to use the resources I have. Should I water the mushrooms, or is it enough to use a humidifier in the bucket they grow at least? I mean, so most of the time you just have your moisture content in the substrate and then a humidifier to buffer the mushrooms from drying out. That's usually enough. You don't normally have to mist them or water them, anything if you have a fogger going. A couple of live videos, someone was asking about using hardwood only as spawn. I was logging off, so I didn't have time to respond. That's what I use, and so far, and so does Far West Fungi. It works great. Yeah, I know Brooks. I didn't realize they were only using sawdust spawn, but I mean, I can see them doing it. Sawdust, if you're not growing on straw and you're growing on a supplemented substrate, and you want as many inoculation points as you can have, sawdust makes sense. So, in fact, we throw a few little pellets of sawdust in our oats, and now I get faster colonization doing a mixed spawn like that. Plus, I get to use my liquid culture, which is fantastic because liquid culture to sawdust doesn't work really well, but liquid culture to actually the straw worked really well. I went liquid culture to straw. And in the spawn, we had actually accidentally thrown the straw pellets on the top, and it colonized the straw before it did the grain. So I'm actually about to do a test to see if I can do straw spawn. We'll see how it works. Yeah, absolutely, Chip. You're very welcome. Ryan says, why is it when you inoculate grains, half the bag colonizes and then completely stalls? Heads is heads it due to moisture content. Is it due to moisture content? So I don't know. So my bags, what I always do is I inject the LC and I'll let it grow 3 grains in each direction, right? Once it's grown, kind of like that shape or whatever, I then bust that bag up, shake all the spawn up, and then it colonizes the entire spawn. So I don't know. Doing that method, I don't have any problems with the bags, the LC stalling out. When you harvest your Pathfinders, grew from your LC pack on Masters Mix, and they're wicked. Some with huge caps, some twisted all crazy. So man, what we do is we let them come out, flip up, and they grow in this weird, ugly monster looking thing. And then we let them they'll get about that tall, good 5 to 6 inches tall. And then that's not really a good measurement, is it, for you? Because you don't know how close, I could be like, oh yeah, it's like that. So about 5 to 6 inches tall, but I mean, here's my advice for anyone wanting to know when to pick something. Grow out your mushrooms, and the first few clusters that are growing faster than your others, don't even pick them. Don't even pick them until they're old and shriveled on the block. Test your strains. See how far you can push them, and then pick a point before they go bad to pick them from the next time. I learned that from the fish hatchery when I was working there. he was always saying that the best way to learn how to keep something alive was, let's say you have a spawn of fish, like larvae, you can always put them in a tank, and then you can not feed them, right? And see if they eat whatever is available there in the tank, and see how long they live. And then the next batch, you try it again. But this time you feed them fry food, like some sort of larval form food. And then you feed them that until they die. And that will tell you at what point they stop making use of that food. Then you do it again with the next food, and the next, and the next, and the next. Before you know it, you know more about raising that species than anyone else. So you just got to do that churn. That's what I would do with the Pathfinder to really figure it out. I've got some pictures, I think, on the website. If I don't have them on there, I should upload them onto it. But I mean, you want them to look like almost like tulips, like really elongated tulips, and that's when they're ready. Before they start to turn brown. I just lost a tub to yellow that went to puffy, white to green. Now, it sounds to me like you may have had some sort of mold problem, like trichoderma, perhaps. I think if I used farm pine with compostable bags and soy hulls, I would think that would be the most environmentally friendly master's mix. Well, there are no compostable bags. There are oxo degradable bags. So there's no biodegradable bag. The bags that are being sold as biodegradable are oxo degradable or whatever it's called. Basically, it just means that they don't really ever break down. They just break down into finer and finer shards of plastic. So that said, I don't think that there's like a real, other than log farming, I don't think that there's a truly environmentally friendly way to grow mushrooms. I think what we have to do is build the industry up, build up the demand enough and the way things are done to a point where people start looking at it and investing money in environmentally sound ways of doing it. And then that will come on its own. Agaricus, they use mainly wood beds, and I think that that's a great way to go because they just replace the wood as it goes bad. And it makes plenty of sense, but, we'll see. If oysters on pine pellets soak up the flavor, so I wonder if you can infuse some oysters with maple pellets. That's a neat idea. It's kind of like, when you're feeding, you finish hogs off on chestnuts or something like that. Seth says, straw spawn, I need to know. Seth, I'll let you know as soon as my tests are done, man. I will come out on a live stream and I will let people know. For sure, because I think it'll work, man, because if you can go straight to LC, honestly, straw spawn wouldn't even have to be a thing. What you could do would be goat mix, and if LC will take to straw, you just inject straight from liquid culture to your straw bags. And at that point, you'll need massive amounts of liquid culture because you can just inject your fruiting blocks, just pow, 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 pow. And that's the holy grail right now, liquid culture. Matthew says, I've learned tons from your videos, Andrew. Your LC technique using a tissue sample was a game changer for me. FYI, I'm Fungi Man on Instagram. Okay, nice, man. Yeah, dude, it just clicked with me one day whenever Ben was asking me when I was using a scalpel still. He saw me having a little bit of trouble with a piece of tissue. And then I started thinking about the needle looks like a scalpel. And I remembered in Peter McCoy's book, he does the needle biopsy. The needle biopsy is a common thing in medicine for breast cancer biopsies where they're trying to biopsy the tumor. It's common in other, just the biopsies are a very common thing in biology. And it just blew my mind because I realized I'd never seen anybody doing an agar biopsy like that and going straight to it. But I tried it and it worked. And then I did the grain spawn one where I bought a bag of grain spawn from, let's just say it was Northspore. I can't remember who it was actually from. But let's say I buy a bag of grain spawn from Northspore or one of the spawn suppliers. I had my jar, self-healing injector port with that little bowl, filled it full of alcohol, took sterile tweezers and placed that grain actually, no, I think I just took a needle and just stabbed it and then placed it right there in the alcohol and then just stabbed through the grain, then through the self-healing injector port and injected with a little bit of liquid culture behind it, injected it, and took a core sample of that piece of grain spawn and then made up a whole thing of liquid culture with it. It worked wonderful. So that needle biopsy technique, I mean, it just works on all kinds of stuff. It's great. But I'm glad you liked it, man. I'm glad it was helpful for you. I know it was a game changer for me. You're very welcome, Ryan. By the way, I guess the tea was already pasteurized after cooking, but I put the jars in an oven with the tops on loosely. I only used a couple of grains in each jar, so far all jars are working. Well, heck, man. Yeah, I mean, I would say it was pasteurized before, but, you know, it doesn't hurt being a little extra careful with something that's, I'm sure tea is pretty rich in nitrogen. Matthew says, oxydegradable, didn't know that. Yeah, it's, that I wish there was a compostable bag. I was going to use plastic buckets with holes instead of bags for some pink oysters. Would that work for lion's mane as well? People do it. The problem with the buckets is that as your substrate fruits, it loses mass and it shrinks. So as you have your buckets, your substrate will literally pull away from everyone I know who goes to buckets, leaves buckets as quickly as possible. Number one, the washing, but number two, your fruits don't work as well because the more you fruit, the more it shrinks, the harder it is for it to fruit. So that's one thing. Miser, yeah, I call it the goat mix. We call it that after the little straw goats that are commonly found in like Scandinavian Christmas stuff. Samantha and I both have a fair amount of the Great North in us, and we just kind of thought it was a nice thing. About the time that we were playing with it, we had put out our straw goats on the Christmas tree and on our Yule log and over on our mantle and stuff. And so since we had the goats out there, we're like, oh, straw. We called it the goat mix. And then my son informed me that GOAT stands for the greatest of all time. And I was like, oh, this works too. What's up, Michaelette? Knowledge says Capsule Core on IG. Wizard Male Mushroom. Let's see. Dustin says, I've heard goat mix about 5 times now. Not sure what you mean. When do you start your growing season? I grow all year, so I don't have a season. Maybe you mean a specific type of mushroom on the season? McLeod, I'm doing very well, man. Thank you. I hope you're doing well as well. High moisture on the grains may slow the growth of the mycelium. It does. High moisture absolutely slows, which is also one of the reasons why I put the sawdust in the bag. Well, like 4 or 5 pellets, maybe 8, something like that. But Zed says, Zayed? Oh my gosh, I'm sure I'm butchering your name, man. I'm sorry. Instead of using soybean hulls because I can't find them here, I use soy that is fed to farm animals. Well, soybean hulls are fed to farm animals here, so are you talking about maybe soy meal or something, or soy? What's the other soy product? But you get mids. Agaricus uses aluminum beds in more professional farms here, but the peat layer is their plastic eco problem, ruining peat bogs, which are a good carbon sink that took millennia to form. Okay, I gotcha. Most of the ones I've seen in the northeast of the United States, up near Kennett Square, most of them I've seen use wood beds and these old like concrete bunker looking buildings. I'm not sure where you're at, but I can see people using aluminum beds. I know that I've seen it in aluminum beds in the Netherlands, in Korea, maybe Japan. I've heard of people using plastic saran wrap for agar jar lid, but I've never done it. I've not either, but I assume it would work because I store my plastic dishes now in Ziploc bags. I used to store them in the tube that they came in, but I find it so much easier if I want to just work with 4 dishes just to grab a Ziploc sandwich bag full of those. And that blown plastic is practically sterile, so it works really well. And I imagine the saran wrap is very similar. Swedes use the straw goats, also in Finland. I'm Finnish Swede. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Samantha's. So it's interesting. We when we did the DNA test, actually, we both knew we had Scandinavian family, but I didn't realize that. I guess most of my family comes from Norway, Norway, Iceland, Isle of Man, that kind of area, and Samantha's is more Swedish. Can you explain how nitrogen benefits yields? No, I can't. Other than that, it does. Like, are you talking about how it's used? I don't know. I know. So typically, I know that nitrogen is a protein-bound molecule, um, and I know that typically the more protein in a grain or plant matter, the more nitrogen you have. How it boosts the yields, I don't know. I just know that that is um, what we tend to select for. Now, there is most certainly a discussion about that in growing gourmet and medicinal mushrooms, but I'm not sure where I put that book. And also, I'm sure you guys would be bored if I'm looking through a book. Maybe someone can Google that for us real quick. Could you swap out soybean hulls with rice hulls? Bucks, I've had a couple people ask me that actually recently, and I think so. I really do. That was something I meant to look up while I was here today. Somebody was asking me about that on the Discord channel last night. We were on Discord a couple nights ago, and I don't know if Jesse's still on here or not, but he was taking a tally of everyone that was shirtless and everyone that was wearing pants. So we have a lot of fun. Let's see. Do you take on apprenticeships? Knowledge, I do. Mentorships. Those are usually paid. People come, they'll pay, they come, they stay with us for a week and work the entire round of the business with us. They'll come in and they'll do production, they'll go on deliveries, they do talk to our chefs, they'll do lab work with me. I mean, I always try to tailor it. Like if somebody comes in and they're like, hey, I've done this thing in my life before, I feel pretty comfortable with this, but I'm weak on this, then I try to make sure they get as much of that as possible while they're here. So we do the mentorships. I don't do apprenticeships. Right now, I just don't have the infrastructure to do really any more than that at the moment. We do have a lot of, we have our employees and stuff, but that's not really an apprenticeship. Do you have any experience with soybean meal? Would that work? I don't. I know that it will work. People use it. I don't have the information for you on that one. Man, I feel like tonight is just a night. You guys are asking me stuff I don't know. This is cool. I should make a list of stuff I'm going to have to start looking up. Can you shock a block with a stun gun? Yes, people do it. Interested in hands-on learning, medium, large-scale mush production. Okay, yeah, knowledge. I mean, the mentorship would probably be perfect for you. If you've got any questions about it, you can reach out to me. It's on the website. You can schedule your own week and what week you want to come do it. I am like half as much as what most people like What the Fungus and those guys are, but they offer room and board and I don't. But we have some hotels around here. We have some, what is it called? Airbnbs and things like that people will stay at. So, and I think, so we had someone leave yesterday. They just finished their mentorship. And then the week before that, we had some guys in from Minnesota, and I think they stayed in Knoxville. And I think it's like a 20, 30-minute drive, but Knoxville's a much nicer place to stay. Like there's a lot nicer hotels, and there's a lot more to eat and do and that kind of stuff. And so, but we have that for sure. Which substrate should I use for gray oyster mushrooms? Dennis, I would use the Master's Mix, the Goat Mix. I mean, most oysters will grow on most anything. EPL says, yes, the Netherlands, but they are spreading way more efficient. But the peat layer always is on top anyway. They are learning on reusing it to get multiple uses from it. I mean, that makes sense to me. They should do that. I mean, you could probably steam clean it. You're welcome, Joe. Will sawdust be enough for oysters? Yeah, it will, but you will get low yields. Hericiums actually work pretty, like if you want to grow something, but you just want to use sawdust, hericiums are the thing to do because they actually have pretty good yields on just sawdust. So Swedes and Norwegians are almost the same people. Yeah, I mean, that's what I hear. I don't actually know. I mean, obviously my family's been out of the old countries for who knows when, and I don't even know when the last time my family would have been considered Norwegian or anything like that, because my family most recently would be Scots-Irish. And I know there was a lot of intermixing between the Scandinavian peoples and the northern British peoples. So Is protein content the biggest contributor to growing large fruits? In my experience, anything that is pretty high protein beefs up those yields. Different mushrooms respond to different things pretty well. So, agaricus yields. The agaricus can be grown on a few different things, but its yields aren't really boosted until somebody introduces a bacterial source. Actually, a lot of times. There are a lot of mushrooms that, in order to get the big yields, it doesn't matter what nutrition you like. You have to have the right nutrition, but it doesn't matter how good you do on the nutritional level if you don't add a bacterial competitor. And for some reason, they perform better with that. So, can't wait until your bagger arrives. Oh, it's Joe. Hey, Joe. Do you have any tips for it? For instance, do you elevate the bags with anything before dumping the material? Yeah, so we do a Sterilite bin. And then we put an old, it's an old commercial fridge grate. They used to put sandwiches and stuff on, and that just sits over there, and that allows the bag to sit. So when the bagger dumps everything, the solids and the liquids, it'll pull on your hand just a little bit. And having that grate down there, it allows pellets, water, any spillage that you have to pour through. So you have an easier way of cleaning, but then it also gives you some lift so that you can hold on to it better. And then you can hand it off to whoever's folding your bags. Now, I will say the one thing that I like to tell people is you can run cold water through it just fine. We run cold water right now because we don't have a hot water heater other than for the bathroom. But the pellets almost always swell up better when you use warm water. So if you can get some warm water, and get that mix in there to your water system, I would do it. Shout out and man, I was here. We almost had a debacle. We didn't have access to the forklift because they locked it behind the other gate, the one gate here that I don't have the key to because it belongs to the Irwin guys next door. And so I didn't know how we were going to load your bagger up, so we just did it by hand. 4 of us just picked it up and walked it to the truck. So Jesse says, shout out the Discord channel. The best way to learn and collaborate as a community. What's up, Discord family? Yeah, man. Here, let me get a link for it. I'll post it in the chat. Invite people. We'll leave this as a... I don't want it to expire. There we go. All right, got it copied, and I'm coming back to you guys. So I am linking the Discord. There you go, in the chat. I use Rice Bran, works great. Great, good. So whoever was asking that earlier, he's got the answer for you. You're welcome, Bucks. Edward Wright says building blocks. Building blocks what? Patty Feeney. Evening, Andrew. Home very late, nearly midnight here. Apologies if already asked. Due to location, buying a bagger is not possible, but it has been selling the diagrams. Would be very interested, please. So he is digitizing plans now. He has his CNC up running, and he's going to make that pull double duty, as in he has to digitize the plans for the CNC anyways. So now he is going to have the plans digitized for the CNC and for publication. So we don't have it yet. We know it's been like a year and a half. But we have definitely been, that has been on our mind for a very long time. And now that we have manpower, I mean, gosh, guys, having employees makes life so much easier. It's allowing me to produce a lot more things. And there's a lot of stuff that's in the works. It's long-term that I've been wanting to do for years that we're just now starting to get to work on. So it's going to get weird. For instance, how much mushroom in terms of ratio do you normally get compared to the medium weight, not counting the water? Fred, I need you to go back and specify what you're talking about. There's so much stuff going on in here that I have lost what you're talking about. We are all leveling up, bro. Absolutely. Patty says, sorry, Andrew. No, man, don't worry. I've been called Andre lots of times. When I lived in Mexico, I was called Andres. Dennis, you're welcome. Have you known anyone to grow birch polypore with any success? No, but I don't know that I know anyone who's tried. Who would I consider? Who would I even look to? Maybe terrestrial fungi. Jeff Maginero of Appalachian Gold. I would look into him to see if he has, because that dude does some weird, cool stuff. Edgar says, what about water crystals, aka potassium, aka pterosorbs? So yeah, we've used those, and they had a big. I don't remember how much we used, and I don't remember how much water we used because we did the test like 2 or 3 years ago. But we did it on comb tooth, and our comb tooth bags produced on average about 5 pounds per flush when we used the water crystals. Those mushrooms were big and heavy and were monsters, and I have never seen the like. And I would love to do it again, but just have not. I mean, that's one of those things. It's one of those things where things are good enough now, and I have been so like held up not having enough labor possible, labor available that it just wasn't possible to really do all the experimentation that I want to do. I am going to revisit the water crystals, but that's going to take a lot of. The dosing was the hard part because you're going to have to hand dose until you can find like a dosing wheel or something like that. So, would it be possible to inject some pasteurized nutrients into the medium to get more flushes? Sterilized is what you would want to. People have tried this a bunch of times. It's a very common thing when people get in here. They attempt this, and I have never seen it work out really well. So, usually it's better just to start a new bag. It would be nice if you could just go through and inject your bags and just get bigger ones, bigger flush, like another larger flush. I wonder if you did an injection pick right after the first flush, it gets injected. The problem is your mushrooms don't all flush at the same time a lot of times. So, and you can get it pretty tight, but it'd be nice to get a bigger second flush. Have you fruited out of mason jars? I have. The cleanup is the hard part. I don't like cleaning those up because you have to bust that stuff up and it's inside the mason jar. What's the pros and cons of hanging cylinder bags versus the bags we see you use in your setup use? So the biggest thing is that spacing for me, those big bags, they tend to be. Let me just start over. Knowledge. The biggest thing is compression. Those big bags, when you're using a really small substrate, like a small particle size substrate like sawdust or straw like dust, the more you pack those bags, the bottom condenses, it compresses and makes it really tight. And a lot of times they won't even colonize the bottom. So most of the time people will use those real long bags when they are using straw or a bulky substrate that's airy like that. Now you might be able to add an additive like larger wood chips, maybe some straw, maybe things like that, that would increase the amount of air cavities in that bag. But then at the same time, you're going to ask yourself, why am I doing all this work when I could just use a smaller bag and pack them tight? So, plus I like the smaller bags because, when you use those giant bags, if one gets contaminated, it's contaminated. But in the smaller bags, you might have 7 or 8 in that same space. One goes bad, you pull it and replace it. You've still got the others. I want to be the mushroom man of my neighborhood. Man, all you got to do is grow a couple of clusters and you'll be the mushroom man of your neighborhood. That's all it takes these days. That's all it's really ever taken, I guess. Discord has unmuted itself. Give me a moment. That actually is good, though, because it means that my wife should be home fairly soon, which means I'll be able to go home and get on the Discord channel and hang out with everyone there. So we like to get on the video chat in the evening. Cool. I didn't know there was a live thing. Yeah, man, absolutely. I do them occasionally. I don't schedule them very often. I wish I did because I'm sure I'd get a much larger audience. But, if I did a much larger audience, I'd probably get super chats and do all that kind of stuff and monetize my time, or I don't know. But it doesn't really matter. The biggest thing is that I do this because you guys keep me company. So right now I'm waiting on the autoclave. So you guys are kind of just keeping me company and allowing me to just do something when I would normally just be waiting here. Now I could read a book. I am rereading the mushroom book itself, Dune. So, written by the ultimate mushroom man about mushrooms while on mushrooms. So But no, that's one of my favorite books in the world. And I usually reread it once a year. And the world is chaotic enough right now. I think it's a good time to read that book. So, but the live streams are a different kind of fun. It's my extroverted side. I think he's talking about substrate to yield ratios. Joe G, again, see guys, I need you guys to specify things because I think he is talking about substrate to yield ratios. Are you talking about me? Are you talking about somebody else? Are you talking about a question I asked someone earlier? Like, I get lost in this stuff because by the time I get answering someone else's question, I've already forgot the others. Yeah, Patty, man, I look forward to getting those plans out to you too. I think he's referring to the best mean to achieve bioefficiency. This is vaguely, jogging my memory, but thank you for answering my email about the oat and sawdust. Yeah, man, you're very welcome. It's a very chaotic day. I almost didn't get to it. Ever seen Home Mycology's YouTube channel? If so, what do you think about his strategies? If it's who I think it is, I've only seen like one or two videos, and one was where he was doing parafilm, and if it was him, it can't be Home Mycology because there was a guy that I watched who had a teeny tiny little channel, and I mean like 20 subscribers, and I think Home Mycology is way bigger than that. This guy I watched did he folded his parafilm and stretched it over, and I was like, oh my gosh, why am I wrapping twice? I could just wrap once. But I don't actually. I'll check out Home Mycology more so I can give you guys because I get asked about him about every live stream. It's funny because I get asked about him, but I don't really seem to get asked about who's that guy that's got the really cinematic stuff. Like he's got a whole cinematographer friend and crew or something. They come in and they do it. And he's got big, beautiful curly hair that just like spills out like crazy. But it's weird because like his stuff is so beautiful. I've never gotten a question about him. Yeah, Miser, Appalachian Gold, Jeff Maginero. He hunts cordyceps, like typically wild cordyceps, but he does other stuff as well. He goes into Appalachia. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I'm doing now with oysters. But he goes out and he finds like wild cordyceps genetics in the Appalachians. Doing it with Dan to chat. Doing first agar plates now. Had to use saran wrap, but getting a lot of condensation. Could be lack of breathability, but I think it's more likely due to irregular temps and not pouring my own. I think you're probably right. Josiah, what is the average weight for the first flush of mother of pearl? Yeah, I can pull that up right here. I've got the notes. We are taking trials on it right now, but it's about a 2.5 pound to 3 pound average. With our record setter so far on the, not counting the one that grew on pine, the batch that grew on pine, our master's mix record setter is 3.54 pounds first flush. How do you feel on coffee, worm castings, manure, and types, or any tips to secrets are on sub, or do you think keeping it simple is best? I think so. I had a guy I was talking to recently about growing other types of mushrooms in the gourmet. He was wanting to know some advice on that, and I was telling him that I knew people used cow manure, and he wanted to know if worm castings would work. And I said I thought so, and he tried them, and they did work. So I think that's probably a good way to go. But that's only if coffee I don't like as a substrate. I do add coffee to my spawn occasionally, like just the stuff that we drink here, the employees and stuff. We'll dump it out in the grain bin, and I find that that's really cool because the oysters like the coffee, and it gives them a ton of the coffee grounds give a bunch of inoculation points. But coffee always goes bad so fast that I don't do it. Charlie says, "Hello, I'm here." Hello, Charlie. I am here. Gypsum cannabis trim. I'm not sure. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. It's going to be an empty screen for just a moment. All right, I'm back. All right. Where are we at? Have you thought about growing cordyceps? Stephen, I think I just answered that, didn't I? Howdy, I haven't talked to you in a bit. What's up, boomers? Hope all is well. Question: how long do you allow your grain spawn to go before expanding onto sawdust? Not long. I mean, it's really just about, like, as soon as I see growth everywhere in the bag, that's the grain spawn's ready to go. Even if it's really light, it's ready to go. You will get faster results if you let it age a little bit, grow in, thicken up, turn really white. So, what size bag, DEM? Chat jumped. Like, it really jumped too. Okay. At Joe G, trimming the substrate. Okay, you guys are talking to each other. You keep us company. Well, thank you, Roger. That's what I work. Like, we'll keep each other company. Question: can food grade mushrooms be grown in monotubs or only bags? They can be grown in monotubs for sure. People have done it. You get better looking mushrooms. So anything that grows on the ground works really well being top fruited, like in a monotub or a top fruiting of a bag. Anything that grows on a tree benefits from being side fruited, at least as far as how pretty it'll be. Also, with like side fruiting oysters, you get more edible material per, gram of biomass or kilogram of biomass or whatever you're working with. That's because you don't get such stem, like you can see the stems on the side fruited ones, but you got to think. So if you got a top fruited oyster, you know how they'll grow up and they kind of create this like dome. You got to think that one on the top, you can't see any stems because of how that orb shape. So it looks like you don't have very stemmy oysters. But that one in the middle has had to grow a stem long enough to get to the top. I mean, so you got a lot more stem than you realize it. When they grow at the side, they grow a tiny little stem and then just immediately cap out. What's a good price to sell pink oysters at a local grocery store? I sell mine at $8 a pound. A lot of people sell them at 10. I've seen people go as high as 12, and some people were talking to me recently about going up to 15. So I don't really know. I sell at 8 to wholesale. So it'd be to a grocery store or to CSAs. I do at higher priced. I do something like $12 a pound for the oysters, but that's because we have to bag individual quarter pound amounts. Cetus, are you talking about? I'm reading Dune, but that's the book I'm currently reading. I'm also reading Capitalism in America by Alan Greenspan. And if you're talking about the mushroom books, Radical Mycology would be the one I was talking about earlier. So I'm not sure which book you're talking about, but Dune, D-U-N-E, is the book I am reading now. It's a science fiction book. It was written by a guy named Frank Herbert, who Paul Stamets met. Frank Herbert was a amateur ecologist, I guess. He worked on a ton of different jobs, as a lot of writers do. And wrote the whole thing about the book. It's science fiction. It's about, a desert planet. And it's about the substance called spice. Spice has an effect similar to mushrooms on certain people, and there are people who train with that. And then the whole life cycle of spice is based on the life cycle of a mushroom. And then Frank Herbert had been taking mushrooms, which gave him the idea for the book. So, hello from Alderney, UK, bud. Hey, what's up, Gareth? Any confirmed results in your testing with the hardwood versus softwood? Ben, people have been asking. Yeah, absolutely. It worked. They produced higher amounts. Hericiums and shiitake did not seem to like the softwood as much as the hardwood, but everything else seemed to produce better. I'm doing straw tests now. I think I'm going to remain with hardwood fuel pellets because it's so much easier for me to find than softwood. But most of the specialty stuff I have found, like oysters, I'm growing on straw pellets and the goat mix, which is straw pellets and soy. Though I'm hoping to go to alfalfa on that. And then, or maybe even beet pulp, because beet pulp is not terribly expensive. Though shredded is the most common form here. You can get pellets. And then Oh, was it? The pine pellets. Gareth, you may not have been here for that. When I grew on pine pellets, the hericiums produced like an extra pound per first flush. It was crazy. So, your videos on liquid culture and needle biopsy, very informative. I just ordered myself a stir plate to give it a try. Mike, man, thank you. I'm glad you liked it. That seems to be a very popular video. It was very helpful. That inspiration, of course, came from a guy named Peter McCoy, who I've never met or talked to even once, but read his book. And I do like the technical information in that book a lot. And he ended up really rocking my world with the needle biopsy of the straight up fresh mushroom to liquid culture. So, sorry, I was talking about the dude who was asking about the medium. I was saying that I thought the dude was talking about his substrate to yields. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, if he gets in there and specifies more about what he wants me to answer, I'll definitely try to get that for him. Mikey says Discord is sick. Thanks for sharing, and your YouTube helps so much. Yeah, man, I'm glad you like it. I'll spam it one more time. I just got Paul Stamets Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms. I am sure you have that book. Yeah, I've got that book. His Mushroom Cultivator book, his Psilocybe Mushrooms of the World book, his Mycelium Running book. I actually, Paul's got some good stuff. In fact, I went back and started reading Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms recently, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I'm doing now that he talked about that I've dismissed back in the day as being outdated information. So Paul was ahead of his time. People give him so much shit, but man, he's a knowledgeable dude. I would like to meet him one day. I really do think I would. My mentor learned from Paul Stamets. He went and did his class and stuff. And he's like, man, Paul was just the most kind-hearted person he's ever met in his life. And so I'd like to meet him one day. I don't know that that's true. I'd like to meet him. This may answer his question. 2.5 pound wood to 2.5 pound soy and 7 pound water. So whoever was asking a question that might be answered by that, hopefully that does sound very much like my master's mix bags, except it's 7.25 pound water, but very, very close. I'm close by, and will you sell me substrate? Yeah, Charlie, just give me a call. You mean the sterilized substrate? Come down to the shop. I have. There's 3 or 4 mushroom farmers in Knoxville that come down here and buy either bags from me or all kinds of stuff. My baby's back. Hey, baby, I'm on a live stream, so you don't get in here unless you want to.
Okay.
You can get here. You don't want to? Oh. Was this a receipt for? Oh, is this for the sterilizer barrels? Okay. This goes to Ben. Okay. We're building sterilizers now. Let's see. Joe G's. Gotcha. Thank you. How can I join your Discord server? By the way, so the link is up higher and now down lower. So from where your question is, you just click the link and you can join the Discord server. By the way, your videos are really well edited and helpful. I learned everything from you. Oh, thank you. Hopefully you didn't learn everything from me. Hopefully you're getting, a little oaken spore is a good way to go. And Myers Myers is really good for equipment. Earth Angel is pretty good if you want to go see his op. He's a block provider, and he produces a ton of blocks. I don't think he grows mushrooms much at all anymore, but he does do a lot of blocks. And What the Fungus. So yeah, man, hopefully you're getting a good mix. But thank you. I really do appreciate the sentiment. But I am but one person doing this wrongly and a little less wrong every day. Mikey V said, oh, the dude. Oh no, the chat jumped again. Give me a second. Oh, if you're talking about the guy I was talking about, yeah, I can't remember his name.